Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. I'm insanely excited I get to make one of these videos that I haven't made in forever, but I'm gonna go ahead and say before I get too far into this video, it's gonna be a little underwhelming. I had remembered that for the month of November, I feel like I watched so many movies. I've definitely went to the theaters a couple of times, and I feel like I've been watching a bunch of stuff at home, and I've been streaming stuff, so I'm like, I definitely watched enough movies that I can justify making a video ranking all of the new movies that I saw in the month of November. And then I remembered all of that media I was consuming was actually just Stranger Things, because I rewatched the entire series. So I actually have only watched 4 movies that came out in the month of November. But that being said, I was so excited that I was going to make this video that I'm still making it. So obviously, with me having only seen 4 new movies in the month of November, I missed a lot of big ones. Some of the ones that I missed, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, I really meant to get around to watching that, and I absolutely completely forgot about it. And like I said, I watched Stranger Things, so I literally got Netflix so that I could watch that movie, and I just completely never got around to it. The Jonas Brothers Christmas movie, I feel like that would have been a weird one to rank in here anyways, or I would have watched it today, but I am excited for that movie. I bet it's going to be a lot of fun. Zootopia 2, I really wanted to see that one. I didn't get around to it. And I feel like there were a couple of other really big movies that came out this month that I just could not get the chance to see. But that being said, I am insanely excited to talk about the 4 that I did see. So let's dive into this ranking, shall we? Okay, so coming in 4th place, I just feel like I can't get into really ridiculous comedies like I used to. We have the movie The Playdate. This was a fun one that came out on Amazon Prime, and I gotta go ahead and say, I really liked the cast of this film, so I really thought going into it that there's no way I wouldn't be that fond of it, and I just think that overall there's just too many silly things that are over the top that don't add enough of a comedic value for me to justify the fact that they're doing these really ridiculous over the top stuff. They have something like the Mom Mafia, where it's like a bunch of mothers who are really over the top soccer moms, and they randomly like get involved in some chase sequences and stuff, and they have a bunch of little things like that I'm like, you didn't need to make this movie even sillier than it already is. The main plot of this film is that the American government decided that they're going to clone Alan Richardson because they need, super soldiers, and Alan Richardson was a security guard at the facility where they cloned him without knowing that they cloned him, and now he kidnapped his clone of himself, and it's like, that in itself is silly enough. We don't need to make all of the side characters in this film also silly and ridiculous. So overall, I do like this movie. I think that there are a couple of action sequences that work really well. Like, there's some sequences with Alan Richardson at the end of the movie that are really cool fight sequences that I really like. And I think that the concept of cloning Alan Richardson, I think, was also a relatively well done thing, and that plot twist at the end of the movie where it's like, oh my god, it's a clone of you, was cool. But also, I just think that this movie wasn't as entertaining as I would have wanted it to be. And you have some of my favorite character actors in it. Paul Walter Hauser is in this, and I love him to death. He's awesome. He only gets about 2 minutes, but he is really funny in it when he is here. And then Alan Tudyk is also in this movie, and once again, he's a fun character actor. I usually love him whenever he pops in and stuff, but neither of them are really given much to do, and it kind of really disappoints me. And Kevin James, in my opinion, he's supposed to be like the straight man of this movie, and I feel like he doesn't do a really good job with that either. So overall, just underwhelming. I thought that the concept of this film could have led to something a lot more interesting, and because it disappointed me, it's going to be on the bottom of this list. Okay, and speaking of disappointment, coming in 3rd place, I have Wicked for Good. This one was a really tough one for me, and I purposely went away from doing an entire movie review of this film because I feel like I would just continue to complain about it. But I think that one of the main things about this movie is the second act of Wicked in the Broadway show is like arguably significantly worse than the first act of Wicked. It's a hard act to follow, and so when I found out they were making this movie and that it was going to be about 2 hours long, I was like, okay, well, the original second act is about 30 minutes, so it being 2 hours long should be a good thing. Maybe they're going to be adding a lot of character moments. Maybe they're going to be potentially developing the characters who in the Broadway show just kind of get brushed off, and they didn't really. I feel like for the most part this movie is an extra hour and 30 minutes or whatever, and it doesn't really add much to this film, and it is really annoying because there's stuff like a really long time jump, but they don't really explain like why that time jump was super necessary. You get a couple of character moments between like Fiyero and Elphaba that are like okay, but I feel like their chemistry is like significantly worse in this one, which I don't understand. Like, in my opinion, their chemistry was significantly better in the first movie, and the fact that like Fiyero is like cheating on Galinda with Elphaba, like, that doesn't really work for me. And there's a lot of like small little character moments that in my opinion just don't work as well as they did in the first movie, and it's just really not great. Another thing that really kills me, Nessa Rose is in the movie for about 5 minutes. Her death sequence feels so insequential to literally anything. And there's just a lot of moments like that where it's like you set up this cast with 7 or 8 characters, and the only 2 who get a payoff are Elphaba and Glinda, and because of that, it really is weird because it's like you have 2 hours and you're not giving any of the other characters any moments to do literally anything, and that really drove me insane. Like, the Tin Man transformation sequence was awesome. The Scarecrow transformation scene was barely shown, and there's just a lot of small little details like that that really drove me insane because I was like, oh, well, if this is 2 hours, maybe they'll flesh out these characters, and they didn't. So I think that for me personally, it's just like my expectations were something completely different, and it feels like a dragged out version of the 30-minute Act 2 from the original movie, which isn't terrible. Like, I do think that the songs are incredible. I do think that Galinda and Elphaba have incredible chemistry together. I think that those 2 actresses absolutely destroyed their roles. They nailed it. But this movie just feels like it's rushed, and it feels like it's dragging on the entire film, and it is very bizarre the way that this movie made me feel. Alrighty, but coming at number 2, this is a movie I actually went in with really low expectations, but I loved. We have Edgar Wright's The Running Man. I'm a really big fan of Edgar Wright. I think that he's probably one of my favorite directors working today. I think that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is an insanely fun movie. The original Ant-Man movie would have been arguably this is one of my movie hot takes, but the original Ant-Man movie, if it was fully directed by Edgar Wright and it was fully his vision, I guarantee it would have been like top 5 superhero movie of all time, and it would still be on people's list and like radars as one of the best superhero movies ever. But unfortunately, he was not able to finish that project. But his flair, his style is so fun and so incredible, and I absolutely love this movie. This movie low-key feels like love letter to the 80s with just how campy and over the top some of the characters are. I absolutely love, why am I blanking on his name right now? Coleman Domingo. I absolutely blanked on his name and I have no idea why, but Coleman Domingo is barely in this movie, but I absolutely love him. I think that he's absolutely phenomenal, and I think that overall the world building for this movie is just really, really well done. I think that this movie feels incredibly unique. Like, this is a one-of-a-kind world, and I think that that's awesome. Anytime that a movie can just throw you into a new world that has its own different things going on is incredibly cool, incredibly fun. I love some of the, like, simple things, like the parodies of the Kardashians. I thought that that was so silly and ridiculous and over the top and fun, and that's just what this movie is. It feels incredibly campy. A lot of the action sequences are really well done and really choreographed well. I think that there's a lot of interesting stunts, and for the most part, Glenn Powell is just a thrill to watch. I love the 5-minute sequence that we get with Michael Cera. I think that he's absolutely incredible. I love the fact that we get a little, like, almost like Home Alone-esque scene with him just taking all of the guards through, like, a booby-trapped house. I think that everything with that is phenomenal. And I think that the way that this movie tackles a lot of things really head on is absolutely phenomenal. Like, I just love the fact that it's, like, not subtle about its messaging about the fact that, like, rich people are assholes. We fucking hate rich people. The government is evil. Don't trust the government. You should never let the government control everything, because this is what will happen. They'll just absolutely destroy the economy, destroy the news networks, destroy literally everything. So you got to make sure that you're, finding the right news sources and you're trying not to, like, fall for propaganda. And I think that that's an incredible message. I think that they do a really cool way of doing it. And I really like the way that this movie is just like a poor people versus rich people film. And it's really interesting. I really love it. I thought that Glenn Powell was absolutely captivating in this. Okay, but coming in first place, we have the movie Predator: Badlands. I absolutely love this movie. I thought that Dan Trachtenberg absolutely is killing these new movies. I think that he's, like, redefining the franchise here, and it's just incredibly cool. I think that the action sequences in this film from beginning to end are phenomenal. I love that this movie starts off with a cold open that is incredibly gut-wrenching, and we start off immediately with this Yachita being described as, like, the weakest of the weakest. His empathy is a weakness, and we're constantly seeing that he's just, like, not as tough as any of the other Yakuza, and then he's immediately dropped off on a planet where literally everything is trying to kill him. And I think that this movie has beautiful visuals. I think that it has incredible storytelling. I love the way that this movie, every single thing that you see on this planet matters, and I think that the world building, once again, is absolutely phenomenal. I think that Dan Trachtenberg did an incredible job of making this planet more than just, like, a random CGI backdrop. Like, everything has a purpose. Everything feels like it is living, and I like the ecosystem here. I think that Dan Trachtenberg has shown in the past that he does a really good job making everything in the background important as well, and it's really cool the way that this movie works with the Yachita. Learning kind of the importance of potentially working with others is really cool. I think that the way that they question the Yachita code, which is basically a like metaphor for toxic masculinity, is incredible. And I think that the way that it tackles toxic masculinity in this is absolutely phenomenal, because the whole mindset of, oh, I have to work alone, oh, I can't possibly accept help from other people because that's a weakness, oh, I can't show emotion, that's a weakness. The fact that the main character, I think it was Dak or something like that, the main character that we're following this entire film, his brother gets killed off at the beginning of the movie because he has empathy, and empathy is seen as a weakness. But in this movie, he's able to create his own clan because he has empathy and because he's willing to work with others, is awesome. I think that the comedy in this film was absolutely fantastic. Elle Fanning is amazing in this film. I think that her comedic timing is really good, and I think that for the most part, she's having to carry all of the English that is being spoken in this film. So when she has a lot of dialogue, and it could really like come off as just like constantly exposition dumping, but it doesn't. I feel like she does such a good job of playing this like lovable sidekick, and it's great. And I just overall love the fact that this movie feels like more like a road trip adventure movie as opposed to the typical Predator movies, which are just action and a bunch of death and violence and killing and non-stop killing. And I like it. I think that this movie is really interesting, and the fact that it shows us like Yachita, what they do on their downtime, is also cool because we almost never see them not being violent, and I like that we got to humanize them a little bit here. So overall, I really liked this month for movies. I think it was a really good one. I'm really upset that I couldn't see Zootopia 2 yet because it looks insanely good. I'm sad I didn't get to see Now You See Me 2. That also looked like an insanely good one. And Eternity. Eternity also looks insanely good. There's a lot of fun movies out. Now would be a really good time to have an AMC A-list, or have an AMC anywhere near me so I could become an AMC A-lister. But that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. Like I said, I binge watched the majority of Stranger Things, so I'm going to be doing a Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 1 review at some point coming up. But that being said, that's going to be it for this video, guys. I love and appreciate you guys. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow.